You see, if you take a plant that has been used by human beings for thousands of years, then you have your medical research data. You have your human exposure sample. If it's been taken for thousands of years by men, women, and children, as the mushroom has in central Mexico, then we know that it doesn't cause tumors or blindness or infertility.
Possess a spiritual force that will change conditions without violence and rebuild the world without destruction. They will be the heroes of a new kind of courage, of the bravery that is able to conquer without catastrophe, to change without chastisement. They will not be wounded servants, but triumphant instruments in God's possession of the earth. They will not fall before outer circumstances, but direct them from a few. The number of these spiritual heroes will grow to multitudes. Even a small band of these new individuals can alter the tenor of events and shape the course of the world upward. A few men in whom there is this new power of spirituality from the divine will cause the world to be spared from the crisis that now confronts it. prudence. He is often reluctant to accept new spiritual advances. Unorthodox and open in his scientific outlook, he is often orthodox and closed in his spiritual outlook. It is this which has brought about the world crisis. The finger that was in the crossbow is the same finger that is on the atom bomb. The weapon has changed, but not the inner spiritual level of man. He must now search even more intensively for new inner powers than he has for new outer powers.
In their never-ending search for the miracle weapon, CIA operatives searched here in the remote mountain areas of southern Mexico for what up to then had been considered a myth: magic mushrooms.
Money rains down on you. You sound your sensuality, but you bow down to the way they want you to be. Because I'm racing nowhere, and you're right to make your choices, but you're in too deep, and yet you love yourself. Walk around
determined to succeed in my every act and endeavor.
Your mind can do the job while you're awake and while you're asleep. When you retire, play the other side of this record, the sleep teaching side. Your mind will receive extra strength of purpose from the powerful directives given to your subconscious as you sleep. Set your timer according to the directions in your textbook. You know how long it usually takes you to go to sleep. Set it to start the sleep teaching side just as you drop off. Be sure to also set it to start up again about an hour before you intend to get up.
Look to this day with confidence, for this day is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the varieties and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is already a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived with confidence, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, with confidence to this day. Such is the salutation of the dawn. Confidence, the quality that brings success and happiness, where indecision and doubt existed before. The power of self-confidence is that which distinguishes the master from the servant. Every successful individual possesses a natural attitude of self-confidence. Impress upon your mind, by means of positive suggestions, that you are by nature self-confident. You and you alone possess the mighty power to achieve anything and everything you desire. The great creator of the universe has bestowed in you the power to live a victorious life and to be the master of your own destiny. Direct your mind through the power of positive suggestion to dispel all negative thoughts about yourself. Believe in yourself and impress upon your subconscious mind thoughts of strength, personal courage, and the determined desire to succeed in every act and endeavor. Think of yourself as strong, resourceful, and confident in your every physical movement. Let all of your physical actions express self-assurance. Your voice, your bodily posture, your handshake, your facial expressions. When you have firmly established faith in yourself, everyone with whom you come in contact will become impressed and begin to believe in you. He that is master of himself will win the confidence of others. Self-confidence not only attracts others to believe in you and respect you, it also attracts opportunities. You increase your value to yourself and others as you succeed in accomplishing definite objectives. True success is built and firmly established on these principles. Picture vividly in your mind an ideal self-confident individual. See yourself poised and perfectly controlled. Your every reflection radiates purpose and self-confidence.
Subliminal Kid moved in and took over bars, cafes, and jukeboxes of the world's cities, and installed radio transmitters and microphones in each bar, so that the music and talk of any bar could be heard in all his bars. And he had tape recorders in each bar that played and recorded arbitrary intervals. And his agents moved back and forth with portable tape recorders and brought back street sound and talk and music and poured it into his recorder array. So he set waves and eddies and tornadoes of sound down all your streets and by the river of all language. Word dust drifted down streets of broken music, car horns, and air hammers. The word broken, pounded, twisted, exploded in smoke. Word falling. He set up screens on the walls of his bars opposite mirrors and took and projected at arbitrary intervals, shifting from one bar to the other, mixing Western gangster films of all time and places with word and images of the people in cafes and on the streets. Agents with movie camera and telescopic lens poured images of the city back onto his projector and camera array, and nobody knew whether he was in a Western movie, in Hong Kong, or the Aztec Empire, in ancient Rome, or suburban America.
Someone told me that I'm not only one. Someone told me that love is never found. Someone whispered you better say your soul. Someone told me that you don't love me anymore, that you don't love me anymore, that you don't love me anymore. Someone told me that I'm not only one. I'm not only one. Someone told me that love is never found.
Whether he was a bandit, a commuter, or a chariot driver, whether he was firing a real gun or watching a gangster movie, and the city moved in swirls and eddies and tornadoes of image, explosive bio-advance out of space to neon, photo. The subliminal kid moved in seas of disembodied sound. His agents with movie swirled through all the streets of image and brought back street and music from the city and poured Aztec Empire and ancient Rome. 1,000,000 drifting screens on the walls of his city, projecting mixing sound of any bar. The kid stirred in sex films, and the people's city pulsed in a vast orgasm. And no one knew what was film and what was not, and performed all kinds of sex acts on every speaker. He took film of sunsets and cloud and sky, water and tree, film and projected color in vast projector screens, concentrating blue sky, red sun, green grass, and the city dissolved in light. And people walked through each other. There was only color and music and silence, where the words of Hassan Isabah had passed.
So you're changing. I don't know if you like me, feeling my heart is breaking. I don't wanna see you anymore. So you're changing.
going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle. It's dramatically new, made possible only through years of research, invention, and innovation. Living stereo, played on a record.
45th Street Parkway. See what the hell they could be testing up there.
London Apples Center, do you have any test operation restricted area 2508?
Area 31, roger. The traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. Lieutenant pilot's discretion is approved. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now. That was really close. Aries 31 is out of 340 on the traffic path.
Ask them if they want to report attrition.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over? EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over?
Negative. We don't want to report.
Aries 31, do you wish to report a UFO, over?
Negative, we want to report one of those either.
Aries 31, do you wish to file a report of any kind, over?
Do we know what kind of report to file, Center?
Aries 31, me neither. I'll try to track traffic to destination, over.
I guess we'd all feel a little peculiar and maybe strange. So here I was about 2 o'clock in the morning driving my 1938 Ford, which I was so proud of, which I had purchased after getting out of the Air Force, toward Caledonia, Michigan, where I was living with my folks at the time. I had traveled about 10 miles along the highway when suddenly my lights went out. The engine ceased to run, and I was forced to pull my automobile over by the side of the road. To this date, I had never seen a UFO, known as a unidentified flying object. I guess we'd all feel a little peculiar and maybe strange. I jiggled the wires some more on the battery cables, but nothing took place. The battery was stone dead. I thought, well, what am I going to do now? What a perplexing time to be in. Out here in the early morning hours, only one farmhouse up the road a ways, and no help. I stood beside my car on the driver's side when suddenly, out of the black sky appeared a white light. It came down on me and engulfed my entire automobile in a circle. It was not a glaring light, but it was a soft white light, almost like the bulb that you would have in your home in one of your lamps. It was a light that I could almost look up into, but I couldn't see the object that the light was coming from. The light seemed to be shining from about 100 feet above me.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over? EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over?
Negative. We don't want to report.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over?
Negative. We don't want to report.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO, over?
Negative. We don't want to report.
I guess we'd all feel a little peculiar and maybe strange. To this date, I had never seen a UFO, known as a unidentified flying object. And as it kept shining on me, an eerie feeling came over me, and I felt the hair on the back of my neck start to rise up. I had the feeling there on that morning that someone was watching me, observing my every move, and yet I was unable to observe them. This gave me a real strange sensation. I could hear a hum, almost like an electrical motor, over my head also. The motor seemed to pulsate louder and then softer in the distance. It sounded almost like a vacuum sweeper. have no idea of the time that lapsed during this experience. It may have been 60 seconds, might have been 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour. I do know that after a space of time, I thought that I should go to that farmhouse and wake up the farmer and tell him so that he could come and look and see also and be a witness to what was there. I started running toward the farmhouse, keeping my eyes on the light as I ran. I was a little bit out of the wind, but the light didn't change. It stayed over the car. I got to the farmhouse and ran up on the wooden steps. I looked and the light was still there. I knocked on the door as hard as I could. I pounded and I pounded. Finally, I heard footsteps coming to the door. A light suddenly went on inside. As I peered through the window, I could see a farmer coming, putting his suspenders up over his shoulders. He came and peered out at me, opened up the door and said, "What is it? What is it?" To this date, I had never seen a UFO, known as a unidentified flying object. As I headed for home, I reran the thoughts and things that had happened in my mind like a movie film, the events that had happened that night. I had been driving along M37, minding my own business. All of a sudden, my automobile stopped, the lights went out, I couldn't get it started, the battery was dead. I stepped out of my car, I was standing there by the door. All of a sudden, a bright white light went on, engulfing me in the car. I have no idea how long it was on. I heard the hum of an engine that sounded something like a vacuum sweeper in the distance. There was no downdraft, no propellers of any kind. What held it in the air? I ran up to the farmer. He came out willing to help me. This object suddenly took off at a tremendous rate of speed and disappeared from sight. Then I go back to my automobile, thinking that the farmer would come out and help me, we'd get it going. And the car starts by itself. What a mystery. What a mystery. I think about it yet today.
Trying to predict the future is a discouraging and hazardous occupation because the prophet invariably falls between two stools. If his predictions sound at all reasonable, you can be quite sure that in 20 or at most 50 years, the progress of science and technology has made him seem ridiculously conservative. On the other hand, if by some miracle a prophet could describe the future exactly as it was going to take place, his predictions would sound so absurd, so far-fetched, that everybody would laugh him to scorn. This has proved to be true in the past, and it will undoubtedly be true, even more so, of the century to come. The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic.
What did you see? What was your future idea of its direction?
So, if what I say now seems to you to be very reasonable, then I'll fail completely. Only if what I tell you appears absolutely unbelievable, have you any chance of visualizing the future as it really will happen. I think it will be completely different. In fact, it may not even exist at all. Oh, I'm not thinking of the atom bomb and the next Stone Age. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough which has been made possible by developments of communications, particularly the transistor and, above all, the communications satellite. These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other, wherever we may be, where we can contact our friends anywhere on Earth, even if we don't know their actual physical location. When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk.
What was your vision of the future? What did you see? What was your future idea of its direction?
today's computers. Now, the present-day electronic brains are complete morons, but this will not be true in another generation. They will start to think, and eventually they will completely outthink their makers. Is this depressing? I don't see why it should be. We superseded the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal men. We presume we're an improvement. I think we should regard it as a privilege to be stepping stones to higher things.
What was your vision of the future? What did you see? What was your future idea of its direction?
I suspect that organic or biological evolution has about come to its end, and we're now beginning of inorganic or mechanical evolution, which will be thousands of times swifter. But even if the future does belong to the robots, our bodies and our brains still have immense untapped potentialities. For example, to cope with the information explosion, we may develop a machine for recording information directly onto the brain. As today we can record a symphony on tape. So we may one day be able to become instant experts. We may be able to recall completely memories of past events so that we seem to relive them. In fact, techniques are already known for doing this in a rather limited way at the present. Alternatively, we may prefer to totally erase past unpleasant memories. Our bodies will also be more efficient, and they'll last longer.
What was your vision of the future? What did you see? What was your future idea of its direction?
One of the great medical discoveries of the near future will be a method of suspended animation so that a man can sleep away down the centuries in this manner, travel into the future. This technique, which may possibly be based on deep freezing, will one day be used to send into the future people suffering from diseases or ailments beyond the ability of present-day medical science to cure. Another use of suspended animation will be for the long-range exploration of space. In this way, us short-lived creatures will be able to travel enormous distances, although we may not, of course, be so short-lived in the future, because even immortality may be on the cards one day. However, even without immortality, we may be able to make journeys lasting thousands of years, and such journeys will be necessary if we ever wish to cross the enormous gulfs which separate us from the stars. Distance is so great that even light, traveling at 600 million miles every hour, takes years to cross them. Why should we attempt these immense voyages? The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic. Well, because it seems fairly certain that, at least at this moment in time, there are no other intelligent creatures in our own solar system. We'll have to go out to the stars to meet them. For certainly, out there among the 100,000 million other suns of our universe, there must be many civilizations, perhaps far higher than our own. The first contact with intelligent extraterrestrials will be the greatest adventure in the future of man. It may not happen for centuries, but one day it will come. Meanwhile, near at home, there's plenty to do in this solar system, on the moon and planets. Today, we can just reach the moon. Tomorrow, men will be living there. 100 years from now, some men will call it home. At the moment, it's a one day be possible to modify the environments on at least some of the planets so that men can live there without spacesuits or airtight cities. The technique for this has been called planetary engineering. And one astronomer has coined the very optimistic phrase, the reconstruction of the solar system. And as you know, human beings are almost infinitely adaptive. Look at the incredible changes we've experienced and survived from the Stone Age to the present time. And yet even greater changes are still to come. Because the future is not merely an extension of the present with bigger and better machines and cities and gadgets. It will be fundamentally different, and many of the things we take for granted will one day pass away as completely as all the spinning wheels and sedan chairs and oil lamps. And that is why the future is so endlessly fascinating, because try as we can, we'll never outguess it.
At this point, you might start working on your intuitional ability. Intuition is the highest and most direct form of knowledge available to man. But you must remember that whatever is conveyed to you from whatever level of your makeup, it has to be conveyed through the conscious mind. That's why it is so important to learn to control the mind, to halt the ceaseless motion of a brain which is continuously bombarded with all the messages carried by the ordinary senses. Of course, in everyday life, our conscious mind has to be receptive to the messages of the senses. But when we want to receive knowledge from the deeper levels of ourselves, we must free ourselves from this bombardment in order to succeed in our aim. It has been said, knock and the door will open.
psilocybin, which is a compound related to LSD. And it was, of course, quite a shock. I wasn't expecting anything like what happened to me, which was a sudden revelation of the incredible content that one has within the brain or mind, and which defies, the normal experience seems to be that you get very little comfort. Psychedelic experience makes you who you are, only more so, about 10,000 times more so. So you're suddenly confronted with a great big heaping spoonful of yourself. Took some psilocybin, which is a compound related to LSD. Took some psilocybin, which is a compound related to LSD.
It is true that many young people who are experimenting with psychedelics have experiences that scare them, that bring them very close to panic.
I was always a person who had some natural curiosity about things, and when I had the opportunity to, as a person said, to see beautiful hallucinations, to see thousands of colors I'd never seen before, I said, well, that sounds like a nice thing to do.
You don't feel that you're part of society. Is this feeling of being a part, is this something that you started noticing after you used the drug?
More so afterwards. I didn't care for society, I still don't. I don't care to be a part of it. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's not there. I don't know what I'm looking for. I didn't care for society, I still don't. I don't care to be a part of it. I'm sure they're doing the best they can with what they have, but I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's not there.
You don't feel that you're part of society. Is this feeling feeling of being apart, is this something that you started noticing after you used the drug?
More so afterwards.
Tommy was going to be an engineer. He was 22, good looking, personable, athletic. He had a high IQ. The dean said he had the best potential of any man in his class. His problem was acid. Lysergic acid formula 25 called LSD. A close friend told him LSD was psychedelic. Mind expanding. Said it would give him fantastic new sensations and thrills. So Tommy tried it, and his friend was right. At first the LSD made him sick of his stomach. Then Tommy began to hallucinate. The air began to be filled with rain. The very atmosphere seemed to be a moving current of multicolored particles which came streaming down around him. When he listened to the stereo, he saw colored particles floating out from the speaker. When he looked at the walls, they seemed to be melting. The pictures on the walls became liquefied with colors running down like waterfalls. It was sensational. Inside himself, Tommy felt suddenly, sort of suspended in space. He had a euphoric feeling of wonderful well-being. Then he looked in a mirror, and something horrible happened. First it seemed that half of his face was rotting away. Then he began to see himself as grotesque and misshapen monster. He looked around the room and all the people were becoming monsters. Everybody knew what was happening to Tommy because he began screaming in his rage when he was seen. Tommy had the feeling he wanted to smash his head against the wall to bring himself out of this stupor. He did it. Blood spurted from his nose and a large cut bloodied his heart. But he felt no pain. Then he pounded his head on a door. Somebody in the room tried to stop him. He felt they were his enemies, so he jerked away. He ran into the next room where an open window looked out on a roof across the street. It was 18 stories to the ground. Tommy thought to himself the roof across the street was really just a few inches away. He could jump on it and thereby escape. He tried. Tommy is dead. Tommy Forrester is dead. Lysergic acid formula 25 called LSD. Not everyone who tries LSD for the first time gets such a violent reaction. One authority estimates that among first-time users, about 1 out of 20 will go into a traumatic nightmare such as Tommy. As for the other 19, their reactions are unpredictable and will range all across the emotional spectrum. For some, it will be a scintillating and exhilarating ecstasy. For others, it will be repose, even stupefying. Tommy Forrester is dead. The cult of LSD users call any of these psychedelic experiences good trips, but they don't end up out of control. But they never know when a bad trip will hit them. Just about the time a user begins boasting that he has become a real acid head and suffers no real ill effects, a bad trip can sweep him into emotional oblivion. A bad trip can send him wandering down the highway seeking to merge himself with some speeding automobile. It can send him into epileptic fits, make him schizophrenic, or permanently impair sanity. It may rob him of the will to live and terminate in suicide. Others lose a sense of identity and cannot tell where the boundaries of their own bodies separate them from their environment. With some, there is a feeling of deep despondency and an accompanying fear that it is wrong for them to go on existing. Even on so-called
power of positive suggestion is stimulating your mind with a keen mental picture of an accurate, dependable, and infallible memory. As you listen to the following positive affirmations, make them your very own by making a definite decision to improve and perfect your memory ability in a steady and dependable manner. Now that you have made this firm and definite decision, you are clearly aware that a good memory is available to you. You know that with a positive, creative mind within you, you can and will possess a keen and alert memory. You will constantly strive to remember all of the things which you find necessary to remember. You will cause your memory to be a steady, dependable helper to you at all times. You will instruct your mind to remember only that which is for your own good and the good of others. Most important of all, you will find that you are consciously and subconsciously controlling the positive and constructive things which you want your memory to record. You will be the master of your own memory, and you will make absolutely certain that only constructive and worthwhile impressions will be allowed to register within you. Serve you faithfully and well. You understand the keen inner workings of the human mind, and you are going to continue training your mind to be keen, accurate, dependable, and always alert.
Keep loving, keep smiling, keep holding my love in your heart.
Realizing that your 5 physical senses play an important part in registering vivid impressions on your mind, you will utilize each of the 5 senses. The sense of taste, of feel, of sight, hearing, and smell. You will utilize each of the 5 senses to clearly register vivid and permanent impressions on your mind. You will think accurately, observe carefully, and concentrate the full power of your mind upon what you desire to remember. You realize that association plays a vital part in your memory training. You will associate new ideas with ideas previously learned. You will recall to mind quickly and easily what you have learned. You will impress your mind with a vivid and clear-cut picture of what you wish to recall to your mind by adding the important element of physical movement and action to all of your mental pictures. You are fully aware